This is Bob Sorrentino from Italian Roots and Genealogy, and I'm here today with Gina Andracchio and Matteo Plantania. And they're going to talk to us a little bit about this great website that they have, the Modern Italian Network. So welcome, Gina, and welcome, Matteo.
Thank you, Bob. Nice to be here.
Grazie, Bob. Thanks for having us.
No, my pleasure. So I'm going to start by saying that I was attempting to do something similar through my blog. And somebody hacked me, and I wound up with, I don't know, 1,200 people that I didn't know, and it was just turned out to be a big disaster. So,
we've been there too.
Oh, good. All right. So I'm not alone.
No. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know that I'm not the only one being hacked out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned of you through mutual friends, Gary and Eileen Modica. And what really prompted you to put this whole site together and get this network going?
Well, there's a long story behind that, Bob. Gina and I have been at this for quite some time in multiple iterations of MIO over the years. But it's just something I think, Gina, that we can't get out of our system. Just our passion and love for Italian culture. We both grew up in this country, but we like to call ourselves the last Mohicans, in that we both have Italian parents and are part of the last waves of immigration. And we spent a lot of time in Italy, and so we were like, there must be a lot of people like us that actually may not have been as fortunate either to have Italian parents or have spent a lot of time in Italy, but are very passionate about Italian culture and not limiting it even to Italian Americans. So from the beginning, we've always said, MIO is for all people passionate about Italy and Italian culture. And it's just something that we can't get out of our system. And we're just trying multiple iterations, to really provide a community-focused place that's about the culture, that's authentic, that gets out what everybody has inside of them, and then also brings in Italians from Italy, so that we can make that connection to modern day Italian culture. So I think that was a long way of saying it's just something we can't stop doing, and we're just hopefully we got it right this time, and we're we're happy to be able to do it. Gina? No?
Yeah. Well, as Matteo said, we too are Italian Americans, and just kind of, as I grew up finding my own dual identity between teetering between the American lifestyle and being fortunate enough to go back to Italy every couple of years with my family and building relationships with my grandparents and cousins and aunts and uncles there. I learned more and more about the culture here in the States, and hearing people's stories, not just Italian Americans, but I started to become more and more aware that Italy really touches anyone who experiences it remotely, or once they go to Italy, they just fall in love with it. And so that really just broadened my horizons and understanding of what Italy means to people. So when I later met Matteo and we decided to join forces and be able to help bridge the gap a little bit, it was really something that became more and more fulfilling, just to be able to do that. And it still is. We still have that feeling today, and hearing more stories from our members. It's just fantastic to be able to do this.
Yeah, no, and I think it's fantastic. I mean, I'm a little bit older than you guys, I think. But I grew up with that first wave of Italian Americans, when both my parents wound up in Corona, Queens. And, everybody in the block, everybody in the whole place was Italian, Right. So, you grew up with the language and the customs and things like that. And one of the things that, I just spoke to somebody else about that I find amazing, and I'd like to maybe get your take on it, is, we Italians or Italian Americans consider ourselves Italian, which of course we're not. And there's the vast difference between being an Italian and an Italian American. And so what have you found when you talk to people, whether they're Italian Americans or real Italians? What's the difference between the two cultures and the passion between the two cultures?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, from I'll just say when you speak to Italians, you know, they live Italian culture every day, right? So they have a much more, let's call it a 360-degree view of reality in Italy, right? So it's not all you know, chocolate and roses, as it were, right? And so, you know, the economy is always the further south you get, the worse it gets. Politics. So, although Italians obviously are proud of their culture, like Americans are, as an example, they're much more critical, right? Whereas um, you know, Italian Americans, when viewing, or let's say our members in general, when viewing Italy, it really is all about the love and the amore and the passion, because they really don't know the modern day reality of unfortunately a great many Italians. But when then the Italians that come to MIO see this love for Italy, we've heard it a number of times, Gina, right? They just can't, you know, even Matteo, the other Matteo in our Parliamo group, you know, they just really are, I guess, maybe inspired or happy at least to see that there is such this love towards Italy, even if it's not sort of realizing the whole reality of it, but at least the good parts, right? So it reminds our members remind Italians how beautiful Italy is.
Yeah. Yeah, there are different perspectives, of course, right? So when you talk to a couple generations ago of Italian Americans who came to the States or Canada, Australia, maybe I couldn't speak upon those experiences, but at least here in the States, they had to assimilate, right? So they changed their names and things like that. So they have a different perspective in terms of their level of pride. But then as generations went on, like mine and Matteo's, we have a certain, that pride is definitely strong, right? But with the Italians, yeah, I'll echo exactly what Matteo said, which is they are, I feel like they're pleasantly surprised to learn about people around the globe who sort of carry that bandiera, they carry that flag, and it's they can't believe it. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but it definitely is the Italian Americanness is its own culture, right? So it's got only a certain facet is something that people are aware of. But in terms of Italy, yeah, it's a whole different broadened experience and yeah, in reality, right? So there's different parts to it, and that's sort of the gap that we like to bridge a little bit, as we talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and in my case, you know, we were supposed to go last April, which didn't happen.
No.
But it looks like we're going to be able to get there in September. We had gone like 25 years ago when we lived in England, and it was, you know, a fabulous experience. But I didn't know what I know now, and I didn't know that I had, you know, not, you know, first or second cousins, but I have third and fourth cousins in Italy, through my dad's mother, that have become very interested, and they had no idea that they had an American cousin, and I had no idea that they existed. So it's been quite interesting. And one person in particular, through the Piero family, that has just been great. And she's working with the person that I'm working with, and to get us a really great Italian experience. And I don't know if you know, but my dad's mom comes from two noble families. So it's going to be very interesting. Letizia has a bunch of surprises for me that she won't tell me what they are.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it's going to be great to finally get there again.
Yeah, and that point, you know, when we're talking about Italian American or Italian, like Gina said, Canadian or whatever the thing is, the other nation, you know, I think one of the big drivers behind MIO, at least in my personal experience, has been Italy for people that are Italian descendants doesn't have to be a distant memory. It's not, I mean, it's not necessarily like as easy as walking across the street, but, you know, most people will have, even if it's second or third cousins, some connection. And it's really, you know, we try to encourage people as much as possible to, you know, not just go back, but just sort of acknowledge, and it's not too difficult. And you'll find in modern day Italy, the memories you had growing up of whatever you ate is still eaten over there. Like you can actually find it. Like people still make those same recipes. It's not just, some distant thing that a grandmother or great grandmother made that disappeared, and is never to be found again. It's right there. When it comes to the assimilation that Gina, addressed, my father came from Sicily, and he was happy to leave, and he was very happy to find this country, and this country gave him everything. And so I think a lot of the people that come to this country, no matter what country they're from, they're leaving a bad situation, and they're happy to be here. So they're not, they have much less rose-colored glasses on, right? And so it's natural that their children, in most cases, wouldn't necessarily be inspired to, retrace their roots. But for those people, who are and are due, we just encourage them. It's not that difficult to uncover them and discover them. And, we, like you have, go back and make these connections and bring it into your modern day life.
Yeah, and both my grandparents came in 1950. The interesting thing about my mom's family from Torito is that when my grandparents came, they left my oldest uncle with his grandparents in Torito. Mm-hmm. And he grew up there. By the time he wanted to come, he had turned 18, so he couldn't come as part of the family. Mm-hmm. He then, and he had to go in the Italian army. It was just before the war. And so he went in the Italian army, and I think he may have been in Libya or something. And then he got married. So all my cousins from my uncle Giovanni were all born in Torito. And they only came to Canada about 1949. And I think they had to spend about 5 years in Canada. So my uncle hadn't seen his parents in something like 35 years and had never met his brothers or sisters.
Oh, wow.
So quite exciting. And one of the great things about it is my oldest cousin, I was able to interview her about, life there, before and during the war. And my cousin, which I had never known, and it took me about a year to convince him to translate it. He had interviewed my uncle in Barres about growing up in the 20s and 30s and 40s and how life was. And right. They were actually, for farmers in the South, they actually owned a house, mm-hmm. which, they said was very, very rare.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we were talking about, I forgot who we were talking about with recently, Gina, but I think it was in response to the question about Italian movies, right? And 19, so post-World War II in southern Italy, I mean, really just still emerging, definitely agrarian, definitely feudal type of structure still in the society, and then coming from that reality to the United States of America in the 50s. I mean, it was like skipping, generations of development, really, mm-hmm. that people didn't realize in Italy until like the 60s or 70s, right? So, I mean, it's just the culture shock, to immigrants here or in Canada or whatever, was really great. And it wasn't so easy, and you had to leave people behind, right? And you didn't see them for 20 years, and you didn't see them for 30 years because it wasn't, people weren't as, let's say, economically, well off to be able to do it like people are today, let's say. And it wasn't that common, so it's tough.
Yeah.
No, it is. A little bit of the Cliff Notes version of my story, my origin story, let's say, Matteo. My mother came over to the States with her family when she was 3 years old on the ship. She doesn't really remember that voyage, but that was after my grandfather had come to the States already, worked, saved money, and then, be able to fund that trip over for my grandmother and their 4 children, small children. And for her, I always say she got the best of both worlds, because in the house, it was as if they were still in Abruzzo. They spoke the dialect. It was as if they ate, they had the same food, all those traditions. Outside of the house, however, they got to play with other children of immigrants of German descent, Polish, etc. And it was a very American lifestyle. My father, however, came over from Calabria when he was 19. And so just being able to go back later on when my brothers and I came around and getting to know our family in Calabria, our grandparents, getting to know, I mean, I never did formal research of our ancestry, right? But I got to hear firsthand of what life was like over there, right? So my grandmother, I mean, post-World War II, it was no cars. Italy was still a third world country, so there were no cars in the village. They walked up the mountains with the baskets on their head to do the laundry. There was no indoor plumbing, right? So being able to sort of see things through her eyes and how they then got modern appliances in the house and things like that. Like she saw all this stuff. My father saw all these things too. And just to know that it wasn't that far in the past. I mean, my life, obviously, had I been born and raised in Italy, of course, wouldn't have been that way. But it's just amazing to think that the choices that our ancestors made, I mean, with the impact that it has on future generations, right? And so that's why ancestry, just knowing where you come from, is so important. It really is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you know, in my uncle's case, they lived in the house. He inherited the house from my great grandparents, and when they came, they still didn't have indoor plumbing. It was a two room house. There was my cousin told me that, you know, there was the bedroom for my aunt and uncle and the baby, and she said there was always a baby. And then the other room was the, you know, kitchen, living room, you know, family room with the. She said there was the big uh, fireplace that was for heat and cooking. And we're talking 1950.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was common.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. And in my dad's mom, I could never figure out why she came, because only two Piero Families came to America. Her and her aunt, who had came. Her aunt came in 1905, and in talking to one of my cousins that descend from my grandmother's aunt, she said the story that she was able to piece together was that my aunt's husband was an entrepreneur of sorts, and he had come to America and either opened up a shoe factory or a wallet factory, but in any event, some kind of leather stuff.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of, because my grandmother was a female and my grandfather wasn't from a noble family, that they must have said to them, well, come to America and you could work with my husband. And eventually my grandfather with his brother, started an embroidery company in New York City where they made bridal crowns and bridal veils. And the interesting part about this whole thing with my cousin Linda, that I never knew about and just found it through researching the family, her family, or our two families, were so closely tied in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And her aunt worked for my grandfather, and she actually had her grandmother saved beads from my grandfather's embroidery shop that she brought over and gave to me. So these beads are somewhere like 80 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you start doing, and that's what, you know, I try to encourage people is, yes, it's hard, but the rewards when you find these people are just so amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the, you know, Italian culture and the academic, the food, whatever it may be, that's all beautiful and we all love it. And there's all kinds of history and all the rest. But at least, you know, I think for me and for Gina and for maybe many other people, you know, meeting the actual Italians and developing a relationship with them, it's a different culture. Just like, you know, you go to Mexico, you go to China, there will always be different cultures. But what the Italians still offer, you know, the stereotype is true. I mean, once you're their friend or in their family, you're there for life, and they open their hearts, they open their homes, and you know, that's priceless, right? So
yeah. So I think we have some time. Maybe you could share a little bit. You know, we could share the screen, and you could show a little bit about how the network works and everything.
Thank you. Yes. Let me share my screen. Let me just go. Well, I just pulled up. So, you know, why MIO? This is the landing page, if you will, and we kind of explain what it is. And if you think about all the different ways on social media that people can obtain Italian culture, a member recently, this wonderful woman in New York, you may know her, Frankie in New York. She has a nice blog and she does interviews. She's from Italy, and she posted, why MIO, like why yet another Italian organization, but she was happy to find us, and that we try to offer this place, like we said before, like this community of sharing, right? And activities and ways for people not just to kind of like passively receive, but actively participate. And if you will, if you're familiar with like Facebook groups and things, there's definitely that similarity there. But we wanted to have our own community sort of free from the ads and free from the noise, and really go beyond just the posts into different things, which I can share with you in a minute. So it kind of explains on the landing page, why MIO? We're a community for all people, as mentioned, who wish to share their passion or learn about aspects of Italian culture. So we have that sharing component. We do live events with actually our members, as well as our members, be them individuals or quote unquote experts, so Italians, and explaining all kinds of different things about Italian culture. We offer actual Italian speaking program. We don't like to say classes because they're not. They're really focused on speaking, which is really an amazing group within MIO, and actually Eileen is now part of that group as well, and
She loves
learning
it.
to improve her Italian, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
We also, it's like a learning platform. I'll show you in a second, but we offer our own courses for various aspects of Italian culture. But as we really want to, as Gina was saying, bridge that gap and bring Italian experts into the platform and into the community, we offer Italians and other experts related to Italian culture the ability to create courses and offer them for sale on the platform. So we look at MIO as kind of a way for Italians and, let's say, Italian experts to have a different way of, for lack of a better word, make money. And then we do a lot of bonding and that kind of thing. So on the inside, membership is free. Okay. We do have the paid Parliamo group for speaking, and we do have paid courses. But otherwise, this is what it looks like on the inside. And essentially, we drive a lot of the engagement and the conversation around what we call topics. And so every week we have a Mangiare Monday, so for Italian food, so people can share their recommendations for Italian products, for recipes, can react for restaurants, right, Gina? We talked
Mhm.
about that both in America and wherever else, and in Italy. And then Travel Tuesday, so we talk a lot about travel. And then we kind of build these, from the engagement, we build essentially what we call the best of. And so we have these groups within MIO, one of which we call MIO Collezioni, where in and of itself we kind of have these summaries. So it's a great resource, right? So not only can people kind of share their pictures and share their experiences, but then we take those experiences and kind of summarize them and put it back out to the community. So if people are looking, I don't know, like if they're looking, okay, like you say, you're going to Italy again, prior to your trip, come to MIO. You might be able to search the group or search the network. Might be able to find a summary for what you're looking for. Let's say you wanted to go to Naples and Sorrento and all those places. You can search it, and then you'll see posts by people. And if you want to contact them directly, there's a chat built into the platform, and you can just click on their name and say, "Hey, I saw you posted this picture of Sorrento. What hotel did you stay at?" That kind of thing.
Mhm.
So we want to make it immediate for within the members, but then also at the expert level, people can reach out to the experts and even book with them directly. So we don't charge for any of that. So that's kind of like what happens within the group, and the level within this program we call Parliamo insieme Italiano. So let's speak Italian together. We have a whole, section of the website. Actually, it's happening in half an hour. Is our first class for intermediate speakers and for novice speakers. So twice weekly sessions. With a native speaking Italian teacher from Italy who guides the conversation, and it's fantastic. I mean, people have fun, they speak, it's sort of a no pressure thing. There are no exams, and people really improve their Italian by speaking. And then during the week, we do daily exercises, if you will, compito, it's an Italian homework, for people to have sort of everyday Italian. So, and they post into the group and get feedback from our moderators, from us. Gina and I both speak Italian. And so it's a great place for people that really want to learn to speak Italian, and they may take courses somewhere else, but here is really focused on the speaking. And then the last section, as mentioned, are our courses, right? And so you're saying we have a couple books that we've published, but right now we're sort of building out our catalog for courses. We have a fantastic course from this couple for vegetarian Italian recipes. It's 99 recipes in Italian and English, PDF download, wine pairings. I mean, it's quite a sensational course, all video on demand. And then a cooking class offered from an actual duchess in Palermo, our friend Nicoletta Polo, who, if you're familiar with the leopard of Gattopardo, her husband is the grandson of Giuseppe di Lampedusa. Giuseppe
Cool.
Tomasi, yeah.
Wow, that's nice.
So she's fantastic, and she offers a course. There's an Italian course and additional courses. So yeah, that's all of MIO, right? And we're trying to, we're at the beginning, ultimately building out, this engagement within the community, building out these groups and building out these courses. But ultimately, it's a resource, it's a place to express yourselves, it's a great community, and it's a place to learn. Like we say, transform and somehow bring Italy, authentic Italian culture into your daily life. Did I miss anything, Gina?
No, in fact, anything that I thought I could add, you already said. Nobody explains it better than
Well, I was
Matteo.
thinking about what you were going to say before,
You just know me too well. You know me too well. But yeah, we try and just offer a unique spin on what may not already be out there. People love Italy to different degrees, different aspects of it. And when you see this, it's like a potpourri of Italian culture. And we try and bring the most authentic elements and allow people to experience Italy on a deeper level. And then, as Matteo said, to express themselves based on the experiences that they have and use that as a resource for others. And it's really just, we think it's, pardon the pun, but we think it's really modern and fresh and just something a little different. And we just hope to just keep growing. And yeah, as Matteo touched upon earlier, I mean, he and I don't get enough of this thing. It's just, as we hear more and more from our members, because it really is about them and it's about Italy. As we hear more and more about what they experience and how they're transformed and how they're touched and how other members really care about their stories. I mean, the other night, we had what we call a conversazione, or a little informal interview with our friends that Matteo is showing now, with Dolores and Lorenzo Butler. And they are part of our Parliamo Insieme Italiano group, but they're very active in the community as a whole. And Dolores, I mean, they've been studying Italian formally off of MIO for a couple of years, and they and other members have said that being part of the Parliamo group really allows them to do something that they can't do in formal courses, to express themselves. They're really challenged in finding the right words, which is, not easy to do when you're learning any foreign language. But Dolores she even went so far beyond what I could ever imagine and wrote a poem in Italian and shared it with the community. And I read a little snippet. And she just said, I just knew that the community would appreciate it. It's just something that part of the words that she wrote was mi dispiace, non trovo le parole, right? Sorry, but right now I don't find the words to express what I'm trying to say. So she wrote about her struggle, but at the same time did it in Italian, and she just
there it
it's
is.
beautiful.
Oh, wow, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So it just goes to show you what the power of a community can really have on people, and really bring out something from them that they wouldn't otherwise be able to find. So yeah, absolutely addictive.
No, I think, and you did what I was trying to do, obviously, because Facebook is great, but it's restrictive, and there's a lot of Italian groups out there, but
Yeah.
things get lost in the shuffle, and people post all kinds of things that aren't really relevant a lot of times. So for people who are listening who really want to do a deep dive into Italian culture and have a Facebook-like platform, but dedicated to just Italian culture and Italian art and Italian food and all of that, this is the place to be. And so, that's why I wanted to talk to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. It's so good to hear. It's because with your site, right? I mean, it's a long road. It's easier to we do participate. We do have a Facebook page. We do have an Instagram account, but it's really and we do share the content from the website on those platforms. But it's just not the same thing. It's more like, look what you're missing here by not being a member. It's free. We do sell things, like people can buy we have to, pay for the things, such as our instructors, but but the value. Take Parliamo as an example. It's we charge monthly or annually, but it's $300 a year, and you get essentially 4 to 8 hours of speaking a month, plus daily Italian exercises. Italian classes are 4 times that's expensive. So it's a very cost effective. Like, that's what we're trying. Our goal is, like, we want to put this out there. We want to encourage people to do, but if they're okay with just pretty pictures of Italy, stay on Facebook, that's fine.
Right.
But we're trying to draw that line, just like you pointed out, So if you want to take it to the next level, come here.
Right.
I agree, and I think that's a very, very important. And that's the first thing that I saw, and I think there is a need for it, and it's unique in that you're covering a lot of different things, especially I think the Italian language, and I've started a few times. So I need to get back in there, especially if I'm going to go in a few months, at least be able to walk down the street and ask a question.
That's right. It's not so hard. It's if nothing else, yes, you can learn a few phrases, and yes, you can learn the colorful ways in which to express those phrases. And it does take consistency, commitment, absolutely. But it's certainly not impossible, and our members in the group are living proof of that. So we always encourage our members to just keep going and just go through, power through the difficult moments. Awesome.
we have a course that it just reminded me that we're going to launch. I swear to God, soon. But it's called Jumpstart Italian, right? How long is it, Gina? Like 4 weeks or something like that?
It's 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's 4 weeks, and it's literally designed for people like you, right? You're going to Italy and you need some phrases. It's more than what you get in one of those little phrase books, right? The little travel books. But one of the quote unquote use cases is for, like, hey, I need some Italian before I'm going to Italy, because just to enjoy. Everybody speaks English, but still, right? So yeah, we need to get that out the door.
We do. I think it's
well, this has been great. So last thing, how do people find you? What's the website name? And I'll put it out there too.
Yeah, it's just easy. It's MIO is an acronym for modernitalian.org, right? So it's www.modernitalian, long name, .org. That's the best way. And just come and, we have you request to join and answer a couple of questions, just so that we can, basically prevent what you were talking about before, Bob, like people just coming in and sort of spamming our members and that kind of thing. They're not hard questions, but we'd like to see everybody who joins, and then you just join and you're a member, and you get a free ebook of of Gina showing some really great Italian gestures.
It's more than the
Uh,
classic this
yeah,
thing.
and
It's
more
more
than
than
this,
that.
or some of the other ones I can't do right
Yeah,
now. But
right.
yeah, but that's there, and it's and just become part of the community, and hopefully you like it, and again, as I mentioned, we're just getting started. So we've had multiple iterations for sure over the years, and but this one we've really gotten behind this past year. I would say the most, and like Gina said, it is all about the community. So we're not pretending to be experts in any one of those areas of Italian culture. The expert is found in you. You have expertise. The person that's been to Italy even one time has expertise. The person that grew up in in the Bronx, wherever it is, has expertise. Or somebody that's read something. Everyone has something to bring to the table. We believe, but certainly everybody comes to MIO should get something out of it. Should be able to find what they're looking for in one way or the other by now, and it'll just get better. So thank
Yeah,
you.
no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
Bob. This
Thank
was
you, Bob.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'll talk.